My name's Scott Davis. I'm a CTO for end-user computing at VMware, and I'm going to talk to you today. I'm going to expand on the vision that we saw in the keynote yesterday of where we're going across end-user computing, and I'm going to share with you a collection of technology previews, the results of various advanced development projects we've been working on. And I have to start with the obligatory disclaimer, blah, blah, woof, woof, keep lawyers happy. But all kidding aside, I'm going to be showing technology previews here. No guarantee those are going to show up in products, but we're trying to give you a feel here for where we think we're going as far as a direction and a business unit. So, it wasn't too long ago when things were easy and simple in end-user computing land. There was only one platform that anybody cared about, Windows and the PC. And every user only had one system. So it was a one-to-one mapping, one platform, very homogeneous, commoditized, no problems. And it served us well for many years. But then the world changed, and it changed dramatically and very quickly. But sometimes it's useful to look back at what was the PC originally designed for. Well, the PC arose in the 1970s, and the PC in Windows was designed to automate the office of the 1970s. And if you look at my office here, I have a desktop, I have a wastebasket, I have files and folders, I have an inbox and an outbox, all the same terms as a Windows desktop. But I like to ask customers, so, does this look like how you work today? No, I didn't think so. Things have changed, and they changed in a myriad of dimensions. Okay, first Macs became prevalent again. Then at the same time, the web arose, initially forms-driven apps over the internet, followed by today's cloud computing with SaaS applications and rich user interfaces using advancing technologies like HTML5. Then, of course, there was smartphones devices. And then out of nowhere, tablets, okay, huge sea change. And it's not like we replaced our PC with a tablet, okay? We didn't replace one device with a new device. We have many devices. Look at me, for example. I actually have 9 different devices, but hey, I get most of mine for free. But most people, though, have 3 devices that they use throughout the day in different contexts, depending on what they're doing and where they are. It's a mobile, multi-device world, okay? And that's what everyone expects. That's what we refer to as the post-PC era. It doesn't mean there's no PCs. It doesn't mean there's no desktops. It just means there's a lot more than that, okay? So, and we are in this era right now. Now, I really like this slide. This is from Gartner, and it actually shows a little hidden gem that occurred in 2011. We actually hit the 50-50 crossover point where the majority of applications in use in enterprises was no longer Windows. It was 50-50 split between Windows and combination of SaaS apps delivered from the cloud and smartphone and tablet apps. That said, Windows is not going away. Especially, there will be a very long tail of business applications, line of business applications that have been written for Windows that will be with us for a very long time. You can't rip and replace here. You need a strategy and technology that enables you to bring Windows applications forward as a service, while also enabling use of all the new devices and new applications at the same time. So I kind of like this slide showing the past was a one-to-one mapping. You had one system, it was on your desk, and you were tied to it, okay? But those days are over, okay? People want to be able to bring in whatever device they want, okay? In particular, you want to be able to use whatever device makes you look youngest, and IT needs to accept that, okay? So that's why VMware is building a collection of technologies that we refer to as the Horizon Suite. The Horizon Suite is a collection of innovations, a set of products grouped all together in one offering. There are 3 pillars that I'm going to talk about to the Horizon Suite. One of them is apps as a service, delivering apps of all forms for business with business controls and policies delivered to whatever device. So heterogeneous sources of apps and heterogeneous devices that it's delivered to. The second pillar is what we call Windows as a cloud service. Quite frankly, in this era, you can't be tied to a PC sitting on your desk. If you want to use your tablet when you're out and about, you need to be able to access whatever Windows apps you need from that tablet. So you have to move Windows off of the desktop and into the data center delivered as a service. And that's what our View and Mirage technologies are all about. And last but not least, your apps are no good unless you have data. And we have a solution called Horizon Data, formerly known as Project Octopus. And that's going to deliver you My Documents, delivered with enterprise-grade controls, can be hosted behind the firewall, but it's my documents in the cloud spread out across all your devices. So what does this bring for users? Well, for users, quite simply, I want my stuff on all my devices. And that's what the Horizon Suite does. We're going to deliver you all of your business apps and all of your business data on all your devices throughout the day, delivered in the best context-aware manner. Okay? And what does it mean for IT? Well, centralized management, business policies, security, and delivery of all the services and apps for the business across all devices. However, you can run those simultaneously. We're fully embracing the bring your own device trend. So being able to run personal apps and personal data side by side, safely and securely. So let's talk about the first pillar, okay? View and Mirage, turning Windows or legacy applications into a service from the cloud. Mirage and View are two parallel products, okay? And they deliver, they're highly complementary. Okay, and they handle different use cases, and they also add some capabilities when used together. So both technologies are about centralized image management, treating Windows more like firmware, a monolithic update that you can bring to your devices. However, View has always been tied to remote execution, so that centralized operational benefits, but delivering those from running it in the data center and delivering it with a remote graphics protocol. And that's ideal if your use case is running thin clients or you want to deliver a Windows application to a non-Windows platform like an iPad or an Android tablet. So that's Windows as a service, and that's View. Mirage is also centralized image management. However, it doesn't require remote execution. It runs with local execution. So you can manage a physical endpoint, like a managed laptop or desktop, running natively, owned by the enterprise, or you can deliver that image into a hosted VM. So for example, deliver a managed Windows image onto Fusion, okay, on the Mac. So that's bring your own device scenario where it's not acceptable to do a remote wipe of the device in order to have IT control the endpoint device. So that's the key difference here. And then, of course, that's the key technical difference. Then that results in different use cases for each. So Mirage gives you desktop DR. We saw that yesterday in the keynote. If you have a clumsy IT person like Vittorio who might trip and drop his laptop, okay? It really turns your laptop into a stateless device where all of the data and content is stored as a preservable image in a repository in the data center, and you can recreate that on the endpoint. And of course, View is the most secure way to run a desktop in the data center in a secured container, protected around all kinds of innovations around the security parameters of the container. So we view these products as two pillars, two common things. Centralized image management for all forms of desktop workloads, okay? Be they thin zero clients and tablets with View running in the data center, most secure approach, follow me desktops, etc. And two flavors for Mirage, okay? Corporate-owned laptop running natively with a native PC experience, all native PC hardware. And of course, the bring your own device mode, where you want to run on a hosted system because a remote wipe and an entirely managed device by IT is not acceptable, particularly for Macs. So, View. We launched in May, okay, View 5.1. Major release, lots of functionality in it. I'm not going to talk too much about some of the pieces here, but just to mention a few key ones, we've added broader security support with Radius and other forms of two-factor authentication, more clients, more performance improvements for the PC over IP protocol. Of course, we also added and totally revamped the USB stack within the offering. Two really important things that we added is View Storage Accelerator, which is a dedupe-oriented, content-aware cache that solves most cost-effectively I/O storms. Essentially what happens is that when you load a VM, there's a dedupe hash signature for the contents of every image. Doesn't matter where the image comes from. They can come from different devices, different storage arrays, different LUNs, or they can be from the same LUN. The system will automatically determine common blocks between the images and store them in a memory cache in the vSphere platform. And subsequent reboots or access to those blocks come out of the memory cache instead of going over the SAN or NAS wire and instead of taxing the array. We also have in 5.1 the support for VCOps. VCOps is a very popular offering with vSphere from the management space. It's a analytics and heuristics engine. It measures many feeds of parameters about your infrastructure. It determines what a baseline is, and it determines when you're out of whack. In other words, something's wrong. And then it does common root cause analysis to help you figure out what could be wrong and how to remediate it. So there's a View edition for VCOps now, and that View edition knows all about virtual desktops. It knows about the network and system parameters that tune the graphics protocol, PC over IP. It knows about in-guest Windows parameters. Okay? It knows about the storage arrays, both at the vSphere level and at the guest OS level. And it feeds those all in with heuristics about desktops. So it can help you troubleshoot and remediate problems before they become critical in your View infrastructure. So that's View 5.1. Now let's talk a little bit more about Mirage and describe add-on from what was discussed in the keynote. I'll talk to you about how the technology actually works. So Mirage is about centralized desktop images, single image management in layers, persistent personalization, and number one, it works with physical. So you can have native PC performance, native PC devices. Okay? So Mirage has a repository that executes in the server, and there's an agent or client that runs on each desktop. When you first take a physical desktop and install the Mirage agent on it, it actually creates, it's a storage technology. It operates on files and creates a manifest. And in that manifest, files are assigned to specific layers. And there's 6 layers that I'll show you on the next slide in a Mirage instance. Once it's split the system up into those layers, it communicates the base layers and information about how to do registry merges back to the data center, and it stores them in a dedupe-aware repository. That repository is not a runtime execution environment. It's a storage or intelligent backup device. Now, there's bidirectional synchronization or replication going on in the background. Changes that occur to the base images because the system administrator has updated one of them is going to be fanned out to all the systems that are being managed by it. It's all or nothing updates, just like firmware on an OS, like all modern devices do. So it really treats Windows monolithically. No more running and applying patches on the endpoint. Okay? We also synchronize any user data going back in the other direction. So anything modified in the client, like files you're operating on, get communicated back to the data center. Okay? So as I mentioned, there are 6 layers, and they're broadly grouped into 2 categories. There's IT-managed layers, so that's the base operating system. There's a hardware driver layer, okay? And there's a departmental apps layer. Departmental apps is going to be an area where you're going to see us broadening. Right now there's 1 app layer. You're going to see us broadening that to being in-app layers. But these are typically replicated from the data center outward. So these are the images that you patch gold master images of and then apply those layers out to the endpoints. When they get there, you reboot, and now you have the new system. This is exactly how Vittorio's demo yesterday of the Win 7 upgrade worked. He swapped out that base layer, or Tom Nickel swapped out the base layer and then deployed it to Vittorio's laptop. The blue layers are the client-side layers, the user layer. These are the things that get modified on the endpoint and then get replicated and stored back in the data center. Now, notice there was a user app layer there. Yes, this does user-installed apps. Hold that thought, because we're going to talk about that more in a minute. So there's a lot of use cases for Mirage. In particular, I want to call out this resilient patch management, really treating Windows like firmware. Don't run patches. Don't deploy them to the endpoint. You install patches on the layer in the repository. You then apply that as a gold master image. It's synchronized and delivered in the background. Oh, I left off one thing when I was talking about the technology. Mirage has a very sophisticated combined network and storage dedupe engine. So the transmission of the content of the layers in both directions is very bandwidth sensitive on the network, and it's storage sensitive in the back-end repository. And it's very intelligent. It knows even granularity of specific file types and has separate handling for specific file types. So rather sophisticated. Like, for example, it handles PST files very differently than all the other files in the Windows system. So you're not going to get much better as far as distribution of a replication engine for a Windows OS than what's built into Mirage. So many other cases here. So again, don't apply patches, all or nothing, just like firmware, and you can roll back if there's an issue. Okay, so you don't have to deal with failed patches or systems offline while you're patching. Disaster recovery, okay, being able to do recompose and repairs. Use cases where you're either disconnected, so you're running on laptops, you don't have a network, you're on a plane, or you're in an area where the bandwidth and latency on your WAN is just not good enough for a remoting protocol. These are where things really shine. You saw the Win 7 migration case yesterday demoed. There's a related hardware refresh case. Because we have that physical driver layer in the OS layers area, you can actually swap your image between different families of laptops and have the drivers adjusted in the physical case on the fly. Okay? So this is the general Mirage. I'm going to show you one more technology here, and then we're going to go to a demo. So we talked about Horizon Data, Octopus. This is my documents in the cloud. And it's really important because I'm actually living on this right now. And this is the stepping stone to being able to keep your files and content across all your devices. And it's a key part of what I'm going to demo in a moment. So right here, we have native clients for each. I'm showing Octopus Integrate Horizon Data. Got to get used to that catchy marketing name, don't I? I liked Octopus better, but who am I to say? So anyway, we have here the Mac Finder interface, Windows Explorer interface, and a rich HTML5 interface. There's also native apps, native clients for iPhone, iPad, and Android, of course. So that's Horizon Data. And now I'm going to show you a tech preview. So I've been talking about how Mirage works and how View works as separate offerings and separate use cases for each of them. Well, what if we put them together? Is there something cool we can do? Absolutely. So I'm going to ask Daniel Beveridge to come up here and join me. And we're going to show you ideal persistent desktops with View and Mirage. This is a tech preview. There's Band-Aid and baling wire on this demo. But we're going to show you how we can use Mirage to manage View instances, and in particular, do a recompose of a persistent desktop and preserve user-installed apps and departmental apps. Okay? So give me one moment here, and I'm going to switch inputs. So welcome, Daniel.
Thanks, Scott. Good morning. We're going to test that AV technology out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we had an issue yesterday, but let's see if it works better today. Ooh, it works. We had a user error yesterday, and I was humiliated. Okay, so here we go. So Daniel, what are we seeing here?
So we've got a demo here of our fictitious admin, Steve. He's a VDI admin who's worked with View, just like many of you, and he wants to get deeper into Mirage. So he decides to roll up his sleeve and do some integration. He's going to set up a View environment that actually is integrated with Mirage and provides, as Scott says, that persistence across a composer pool. So here's the steps we're going to go through. It's about 8 steps to follow here. First thing you're going to do is build your composer parent VM. And then you're going to synchronize it with the Mirage agent. It sends a copy of the file content up to the Mirage framework. There you capture a base image, which is basically a snapshot, which represents point-in-time content. And now you're ready to start cloning your desktops back in View. So now Mirage has the same copy of the content that's in View, but it's like a file catalog of all the files in your base image. Back over in View, we're going to create an automated pool for elastic capacity. We're going to use a dedicated style pool. Even though we're going to use Composer, users are going to go back to the same VM each session. That provides the persistence. But we get to still benefit from the space efficiency of Composer, which is a huge plus. In the past, we've had to do full clones for persistent desktops. So after provisioning the clones over in View, the new View machines appear in Mirage as what we call pending assignment. That means it needs to take ownership of them. It needs to bring them under its management. That's called centralizing. So in Mirage, you select the new clones that View has created, and you centralize them. Basically what that means is Mirage reaches out and inspects them for compliance with that base image that you just created. And what it also means is that after recompose, Mirage will know what to reinsert, and because it's the same as View Composer, there's not going to be a lot of work to do. So you can, in Mirage Console, you can verify that the VMs are now assigned. You'll see that in the assigned section. And what you should see is hourly updates occurring. You see that in the transaction log. You can see every VM, demo 1 and 2, sending its incremental updates up to Mirage transparently in the background. So everything is in sync now, and our admin decides, okay, let's do some installation, and you can even do boot time drivers and services. There's no limits to what you can install. For example, FinApp has some limits, and this doesn't. So he decides to install our VI client into his Composer clone, and he wants to check out what happens to that after a recompose. Good best practice if you're using Vue's user data disk is to do the program installs on the D drive, on the user data disk, because Vue remounts that content essentially at very low cost in the data center. And Mirage will essentially map in the registry and other changes on the C drive. That's an optimization. Once you've done an install, you can either manually sync, which you're going to see here, or you can just wait and Mirage will sync automatically in the background once an hour or whatever frequency you set. All right, so 1 coffee later, he's back into action and he's going to now insert some shared content into that shared Composer image. So he's going to throw down Adobe Reader into the Composer parent image, and he's going to see how that plays with the personalized content. Now, you could either put that in your base image or also in a departmental layer, which could apply to only one department. Either way, you're going to get the benefit of merging it with personalized content. Okay, so he's now installed it in Vue, and he's captured it in Mirage. He's resynced the new shared image up. And now he's going to put it through its paces and do a recompose. So back over in Vue, just select the pool and do a recompose. This part's easy for anyone that's got Vue experience. Of course, you choose the latest snapshot that you've just set up, which has the Adobe Reader in it. And once Vue is done recomposing and the machines are available, you go back to the Mirage console, and now the clones show up as needing to be restored. What that means is Mirage knows about those machines, but it recognizes they've been tampered with. So now you want to restore the content, the personalized content, back down. You can do it manually in the GUI, but there's also a scripted way to do it, so it happens automatically. Every 5 minutes, Mirage will just keep checking and restore the content automatically. Here's the big test, and there you go. There's Steve's desktop. You've got the shared content there, Adobe, and you've got the VI client there. So Steve doesn't smile, but he's very happy with the results, and back to check on his admin. So here's the architecture, and I encourage you to check it out. These two products work great together. There's a little bit of best practices and recipe involved right now, but in the future we're going to be working hard to integrate the two products better and more seamlessly.
Wow, Daniel, so this is pretty cool. This showed Mirage doing image management for Vue. We had kind of the nirvana state. We have persistent desktops, user-installed apps being preserved across recompose sequences, image diversity with departmental apps, and your documents with real-time protection through Project Octopus / Horizon Data, right?
Absolutely. It's a big advance, and it gives us lots more options on where we actually manage the desktops. Because you're handling resiliency in Mirage, you have choice on handling persistent desktops either on centralized storage or on local flash.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay. So, we're going to switch topics now a little bit, and we're going to talk about DaaS. So what's DaaS? DaaS is desktop as a service, being able to offer Windows applications and Windows desktops as a service from the cloud. And it's a hot-button topic. A lot of people want to do this for different reasons. Managed service providers who have made a business on managing Windows environments on-prem. They like DaaS because now they can do remote management of the infrastructure without actually being on the customer site. And of course, there's value in being able to move those workloads into a service provider-owned data center, either in a hybrid cloud or a fully public environment. Multi-tenant hosting of Vue. Service providers want to be able to offer desktop services to multiple customers. And of course, there's smaller configuration, fully tenant desktops. I mean, more and more Windows desktops, Windows apps, they can become commoditized. There's economies of scale, and service providers want to be able to offer this. Now, there are some license ramifications with Microsoft. You know, Microsoft is a little behind the times on some of their licensing, and there are some issues around Microsoft licensing. I'm not going to be concentrating on that today. I'm going to be concentrating on technology around DaaS, and the licensing will get adjusted as usual whenever Microsoft has a competitive product. So View Agent Connect is one of the components that we're rolling out today. Oops, did I say that? So that was my inside voice. So anyway, View Agent Connect. Now, this is a technology that enables cloud provisioning of View desktops with third-party brokers and third-party cloud infrastructures. And it's pretty cool. And I'm going to show you a demo of this. Okay, how many people have run VMworld Labs so far? Show of hands. Okay, all of you have used vCloud Connect, okay? This is what we're using in the VMworld Labs. It's also the basis of the solution with Desktone and Dell, okay? What it does is it lets you take any View client, thin or soft client or thin zero clients, and connect to any vSphere VM running this View Agent Connect component. So you don't need the View enterprise product in between. View is a mature, rich, virtual desktop product, but it's designed to run on-prem in the enterprise. It's not designed for cloud deployments, okay? So this works around that by delivering the rich View experience with all its capabilities, PC over IP, USB redirection, 3D rendering within vSphere, etc., for cloud deployment models. But going beyond that, customers really want a fully integrated DaaS experience, a full VMware stack, meaning we're going to use vCloud Director. Okay, we're going to use VCO, SDM, all of these internal products, VMware Chargeback, VCOps, in order to deliver a fully end-to-end stack. Now, we thought originally that this was going to be a lot of intrusive work because, as I mentioned, View was not designed to be multi-tenant. It wasn't designed for cloud elasticity. Plus, it's a system app. vCloud Director was not designed to run an app like View. It's designed to run services and multi-tier applications in the cloud. It's not designed for a system app that needs to modify issue commands to Virtual Center directly in vSphere. But we came up with an alternate approach of how to merge these two together and allow them to interoperate. And I'm going to show you here a preview of a fully integrated VMware stack. And the key enabling insight here was that you run the stacks in parallel with automation and import-export functions. So all the constructs here for my deployed View environment is going to be run on vSphere, on vCloud Director as what's called a virtual data center. So let me switch over to a video that I have here. And I am sans my partner in crime here, Andre Libovici, who built this technology, because he has another session in parallel on this. So I'm going to pretend that I'm Andre and talk to myself here. So what I'm going to show you here is here's a self-service portal, one of the key attributes of a cloud deployment. Okay, this was built with VMware's VSM technology. It's a portal that's sitting in front of View. It's using View as a virtual appliance, vCloud Director, Virtual Center, all as the interface to the system. And what we're starting to do here is we're selecting attributes, abstracted attributes, of the type of desktop that I'd like to provision. Because cloud is all about self-service, easy delivery. So this is a portal that you'd be using, all with VMware technologies. So we're showing here that we're going to create a desktop pool with the set number of CPUs, amount of memory, and this is then going to kick off through automation capabilities, create the desktops that I'm defining here. Okay? It's going to create them in View and then import them into vCloud Director. Now, multi-tenancy. View is not a multi-tenant environment. It's designed for the enterprise. There's one Active Directory, one collection of components. But for a cloud service, one of the key things you want to be able to do is allow Coke and Pepsi to run on the same infrastructure with complete isolation. Even running on the same server, even though Microsoft licensing says you can't do that right now, we want the technology to work regardless of what Microsoft's licensing dictates. So that's what we're showing here. We're going to create a View instance here that's running on top of the construct referred to as a virtual data center in vCloud Director. Now, This is really difficult to see here at this granularity. Should have put my glasses on. In any event, so what we're showing here is that we're standing up and creating the entire infrastructure, and that we can view it both through vCloud Director interface, if you're familiar with the VCD interface. This is showing my desktop pool that I just created, set up in an organization. We're abstracting the network. We're abstracting the storage. These are all constructs that vSphere exposes and that vCloud Director abstracts. And what we're enabling here is all you specified is the attributes of the virtual desktops that were visible to the user. And we automatically created the right thing. You'll notice the naming convention in here for the desktops, that automatically this automation layer in Project Catalyst created them so they were visible and recognizable in the vCloud Director. Reporting is another big thing. Okay, being able to measure and do chargeback. Cloud is about time-based charging, okay, for instances that you're running, okay? You run them for a certain period, you're charged for that amount. When they're idle or you stop using them, you're no longer charged with metering. This interface is, because we're doing native vCloud Director here through View, the VMware chargeback and any other monitoring and metering technology that works with vCloud Director just works here, okay? And here I'm creating a report based on what we actually used in the deployment. And the last thing we're going to show here is we're actually going to show monitoring and troubleshooting on a per virtual data center granularity. So vShield is providing isolation between all the instances, full multi-tenancy. And now I'm going to show VCOps running natively on a View desktop deployed in a multi-tenant manner on vCloud Director. Okay? Again, using all of VMware's products together. Okay? So this automation technology is a pretty cool result of an advanced development project. Okay? As I said, we originally thought that we were going to have to do a lot of refactoring to get vCloud Director working correctly with View. And here you see full multi-tenancy, resource elasticity, being able to grow and shrink resources for vCloud Director, all of the isolation, all implemented with today's offerings. So this is pretty cool. This is Project Catalyst, and in particular, this is suitable for private cloud as well. I really wanted to point that out because we've had a lot of requests from customers who want to use the vCloud Director layers of abstraction on top of their vSphere infrastructures, and they were precluded from doing that with View before. Now you can manage one way across everything in your cloud infrastructure. So that's Project Catalyst. Thank you, Andre. Okay. So that was our DaaS demo. So one final comment on Windows before I move on to the Horizon suite. People ask me a lot, so what does this mean for Windows? Where's Windows really going? Well, the Windows operating system was really a monolithic system that served many roles when it was one user, one device. And over time, I like to think about Windows as being teased apart into separate things. There's actually a real retro graphic on this slide. But some of the attributes of a Windows desktop are associated with devices, that firmware analogy that I made earlier. These are things like the hardware interface to a device, the user interface, okay, how you interface with it, how you launch applications on a device that's running Windows, how you integrate, cut and paste and COM operations between applications. Those are some set of features of the operating system. And those are actually going to continue to be or become an attribute of the device you're running on, a physical device. Other things in this new world are going to become user attributes. And this is not just in a Windows instance, but across multi-devices and multiple OSs. This is where technologies like Horizon Suite with Horizon App Manager come in. Security groups, IT policies about devices, customization settings. You already see this in some of the browsers today, and we're delivering this with our Horizon Suite, being able to have settings and policies that span the devices you use, not being tied to a single physical device or single instance. No longer appropriate to just store these in the Windows registry. Last but not least is application runtime, the services needed in order to run Windows applications. And in a lot of ways, I expect this to be the far longest lived attribute of Windows. Okay? You need these services like the Win32 APIs originally, and then .NET, and then moving on to some of the, even the most recent Windows 8, Windows RT interface for Metro. These are all libraries of functionality that are needed to run applications when they're executing on the Windows platform. And those are going to be with us for a long time. But I think you're going to find that those get considered over time as separate from the base OS. If you think about other runtimes for applications today, you know, there's no My Documents in Java, there's no Start menu in Flash, okay? It's just a hidden library in the background that's used to run your applications. So now let's talk about the Horizon Suite and this multi-device workspace that we're moving for. This is a policy engine. Delivers federated identity and policy, the ability to manage users, their applications, and the security boundaries, and their data, okay, for the corporation in a secure, containerized manner, giving access to your apps and data from all devices, embracing mobility, and being able to track assets. So Horizon Suite is about delivering applications. And it started out with a core technology that's been available for a little bit now called Horizon App Manager. Horizon App Manager is up to version 1.5. It started out as a service, okay? And I'll keep my thing running there. Started out as a service delivering single sign-on and SaaS for your SaaS applications. Now, why do you need SaaS? Why do you need single sign-on for SaaS applications? Well, I have a little story that kind of illustrates why you need this. SaaS applications are everywhere in the enterprise. And this is a picture here of the Horizon portal showing a myriad of different application types being delivered through your shared workspace. Okay, I think I'll hold here. So why do you need single sign-on for SaaS? Well, if you only have one or two SaaS applications, that's not that big a deal. But when you start running a whole business with many applications on it, this becomes really important. In particular, I like to illustrate an experience that one of the people in my group had when he joined us. So one of my colleagues I hired out of Cisco, and he works out of a home office in North Carolina. And when he joined VMware, he started giving presentations for the field, and he was giving WebExes. And an astute customer, a few weeks into his beginning his role at VMware, asked him, "Hey, David, how come you're using Cisco's WebEx for this presentation?" So David was stumped for a moment. It was like, gee, well, you know, Cisco owns WebEx. What other version of WebEx would I be using? And the customer says, well, no, I just saw another presentation. VMware usually uses a VMware branded version of WebEx. How come you're using the Cisco one? Oh, oops. Well, of course, when David left Cisco, they disabled his Active Directory credentials, okay? And that disabled all corporate systems, right? Wrong, okay? He still had access to the cookies that was on his system to the account password on the WebEx service. Now, did that really matter? Was Cisco really upset that quarter that this is a material thing that he probably showed 10 WebExes for free? I don't think so. But that could have been Salesforce.com with quarterly business data. It could have been the source directory tree for your software products, all kinds of valuable corporate assets. This illustrates that SaaS apps by themselves are not under corporate governance. And you really need to. IT controls the applications and compliance and security for customers for a reason. That's what Horizon App Manager starts to do here. It's a security portal. It enables you to, it federates your Active Directory login with a secure key store that contains what's called SAML tokens that protect the access to all your SaaS apps. You don't have an account and password. You can't log in directly to the SaaS apps. You have to log in through this portal, which gives you your contents in your view. And when your Active Directory password is nuked because you've left the company or you're a contractor and you no longer have access, you don't have access to any of the SaaS apps. Now we're broadening Horizon from this SaaS basis to now deliver all forms of applications, including ThinApp packages, okay, including Windows applications through ThinApp. Okay, we're going to talk about App Blast and View desktops, and of course Vittorio's Red Ferrari as in documents. This is all going to come through one interface with common sets of federated policies applied to all accesses. Okay, so The policy engine is really key here because you're going to be able to set policy across devices based on location, device type, what you're trying to do, being able to preclude caching of data depending on where you are, all kinds of rules that enterprises need to do to ensure security and compliance and protect business assets are available through this Horizon Application Manager. So as I mentioned, 1.5 is the current version of Horizon App Manager. And this is available now both as a service and on-prem. Okay, so Horizon App Manager is now available as an on-prem service. And as we move forward with the suite, it's going to contain a rich application catalog for all forms of applications, including mobile devices. So mobile apps are going to be delivered through Horizon, through the same infrastructure, all forms of apps. And we have some technology called Horizon Mobile. We've been showing Horizon Mobile, one flavor of it, for a little while now. It's had several name changes. We're big on name changes at VMware. It was originally called MVP. And MVP was a full is a full virtualization technology for Android. We have a work VM and a personal phone VM. So you have one Android device with separate data plans, separate phone plans, completely isolated. And VMware really believes in bring your own device. Okay? Most other companies and their technologies around MDM are not really bring your own device. It's outsource the cost of the device to the employee while IT still manages the whole device. Our solution for bring your own device is we really let you do anything for personal use. Okay, what IT manages in the Android case here is a virtual work phone with being able to disable cut and paste, being able to remote wipe just the work phone. You can run and do whatever you want on the personal use portion. And what we've rolled out here is a new thing that we call Project Fuji as part of Horizon Mobile. And that brings these same attributes of being able to manage applications that are business applications on your iPhone with policies and procedures and security, running them in isolation, to iOS as well as Android. So filling out the Horizon Mobile umbrella. So I'm going to ask Craig Newell to come up and join me. And we're going to show you a demo of what this looks like in action. So welcome, Craig.
Okay, let's just find the right cabling here.
Okay, you know which one it was?
And number 3 was the magic. Oh, wait until I connect.
You ready?
Okay. Oh, you got to wait for it to wake up. Okay, now press. Okay, so in our existing product, Horizon Mobile for Android, we were able to basically create a virtual machine, very much like VMware Workstation, and then pass the control of that virtual machine off to the enterprise. And the enterprise gets to control everything that's going on in the virtual machine, the software updates, the version of Android that runs in it, the applications, whether it's allowed to cut, copy, paste, or send networking. All networking goes back to the enterprise. Now on iOS, unfortunately, Apple has certain restrictions that make life a little bit harder for running virtual machines. So here we've had to draw upon the VMware technologies and say, well, we have another technology called Zen App where we wrap individual applications, and therefore we're allowed to apply policy just to an individual app. We then take that policy layer and expand it across multiple apps to create our workspace. Because we all know today that on a mobile phone, you don't just use one app anymore, but you use a whole series of apps that share things. So if we just look at it here, I have a standard iPhone with all of the normal personal applications on it. And for ease of use, I've got a folder here where I've got a whole pile of applications which I have wrapped. So if I look at here and I'll click on the GSS app, a global services support app for VMware, the first thing that comes up is it immediately switches and gives me a second PIN. If you notice, when I unlocked the phone to begin with, I didn't have a PIN because that's my personal preference for the rest of the phone. But my IT administrator says must have a PIN. So defeat the security with 1111. And I'm now back to actually being able to use my application. Off we go. This one here takes a little while to log into the network. Now that I've logged into one application, I can now switch into a second application. And when I switch into the second application here, a mail app, I can see that I just went straight into that app. Because just as you would expect on a physical device where you unlock it once and you can use multiple applications, here I unlocked it once in the first app and I can switch across to second apps.
Very cool, Craig. So basically, this delivers for iOS through one integrated management portal the exact same IT policies and procedures on your business apps as we have on Android.
Correct. And it doesn't just exchange to very simple things such as passwords. We can also do fancier pieces where you actually look at it. So for example, here, if I bring up an email that has a link in it, now this could be a link to your internal website. I click on the link, and instead of taking me to the default Safari browser, I can redirect it here to a very simple browser, which is too simple to actually work on the network. But in the future, it will actually connect back straight to your enterprise. So all of the applications within the workspace that have wrapped are tunneled back to the enterprise, but none of the personal apps have access to this enterprise connectivity.
Very cool, Craig. Thank you very much for the demonstration. Cool stuff.
Thank you.
So this is really showing the notions of a multi-device manageable workspace where IT can now deliver safely, securely, applications across all the devices you may be using throughout the day. Okay, and you saw in the demo yesterday where Vittorio and Ben Goodman, they actually precluded being able to cut and paste data across the phone domains on iOS. So very cool, very powerful, easy way to keep control of a corporation's IP assets while still enabling you to use your devices. So this is our managed mobile workspace. So technology we showed that's also part of this Horizon suite last year is a thing called App Blast. And App Blast was a very successful advanced development project. We got a lot of attention for this, and this is now winding its way into various products. So you'll see this as part of View, and you'll see it as part of Horizon, going forward. And what this technology did was it actually pioneered two technologies. One of them was being able to split out of a Windows desktop what's an application versus what's a desktop. So number one, oh, what, did I hit the wrong? Why, thank you, Chuck. Hey, I'm looking here. I'm seeing the slides. So, where was I? So anyway, it knows how to determine what's an application versus what's a desktop. The other thing that it did was it pioneered a new remoting technique for zero install remoting. In other words, it's a new graphics protocol that utilizes what's called HTML5 primitives, a collection of features built into the HTML5 standard that enables you to run in just a generic browser. There's no client to install with this technology. It's pure JavaScript and can deliver a rich user experience for applications. So you'll see that winding its way into various products. Okay, and I'm not going to be demoing that one today because I demoed that last year. But there's another half to delivering a rich experience on tablets, okay? And that's what I refer to as the user experience gap, okay? If you've used any remoting technology, whether it's View with a PC over IP client on a tablet, Android or iPad tablet, or you've used other third-party remoting technologies, even Citrix's technologies, there's all kinds of user experience struggles. And that's because no matter how rich the graphics protocol is, when you try to use a Windows point-and-click interface on a gesture-oriented tablet, they don't map all that well. And I don't know about you, but I love the tablet interface. I'm using a tablet because I want that interface. I don't want to be double poking trying to do multiple clicks on to get a Windows interface. And the best we've gotten to date, the best anyone's gotten to date, is a fair experience, okay? There's been some really poor ones, and like the View PC over IP client is fairly good, but it's still missing this notion of being able to use native touch gestures. So we tried to tackle this problem head on in an advanced development project. And we came up with something that we think is pretty cool, okay? It's transparent to applications, okay, and transparent to the Windows desktop, the Windows environment. And we're doing true what I call user interface virtualization, adding a level of abstraction between the user interface of the remoted Windows desktop and native experience on the tablet. Okay, so we're going to give you a demonstration of this. This is also known as Project AppShift. Let me call the engineer that built these prototypes up, Chuck Hurstius.
Thank you, Scott.
Great. So let's switch to the right display here.
So what you're going to see here is
Well, is this thing on?
There we go. What you're going to see is a slightly expanded demo from the keynote. So you're going to see, get a peek into a few more features that we were able to bring in through the UI virtualization. I'll kind of talk you through them. I think.
Yeah, this is weird.
I'll say in the meantime that one side benefit of this working on this project has been that it's tremendously furthered my career as a hand model, as you can see there. So this is something you didn't see in the keynote. So this is native file browsing. Scott said it, which is, Windows is kind of created as a double-click interface and not a double-poke interface. And if you ever tried to use Explorer to get to files within, a virtual session on a tablet, it can be a painful process. It's very small targets. So in this case, we're bringing that file system back via native widget, nice big targets, smoothing, swiping, gestures that you're used to. And you click a file and Windows just does the right thing. Menu bar transformation, you got a peek of this in the keynote, but in this case, the currently focused app, the menu bar from that is being brought back again into a native widget so that you get that immediate feedback and input assurance, we call it, when you do the action. You can see the display protocol may lag slightly, right? If you're usually on a cellular or a 3G connection, the user experience via the display protocol isn't always going to be the best. But with this, you can have that experience of controlling and getting the input that you want to do into the app immediately in a very gratifying way, very intuitive on a tablet, and then let the protocol, let our advanced development project take care of the back end. Start menu transformation, this is actually a combination of a couple things. So again, instead of trying to poke through all programs or anything else from the start menu and expand that, we're trying to surface very common things that users do. So last recent documents that you've interacted with or icons on your desktop, once you have a bunch of apps up, how hard is it to get back to your desktop? You're trying to minimize and minimize to get to an icon. We just surface that up for you, so it's right there and available in this sort of app tray metaphor, right, that everybody's used to. We have a grid of icons, so we need to work out a licensing deal with Apple on that. But it's very familiar to anybody who's used a tablet to do this. So here you see just going through and launching a bunch of apps. And then the next piece is, now that you've launched all these apps, how do you manage them? If anybody's tried to use a virtual keyboard and do an Alt-Tab, right, that's always a lot of fun. Where's the Alt key? How do I do that? In this case, we bring that sort of experience that users are used to from Arrow, right, with Arrow Peek and having live thumbnails. We bring that down to the tablet in this cover flow form so that you have great visuals, but you also have great responsiveness. And you just tap that application, you can see it's brought to the foreground, so that's your Alt-Tab for focus. The thumbnail then updates, right, in real time. And then we give you long press options so that you can do all the common Windows interactions, minimize, maximize, restore, close, equivalent to on a tablet of swiping away your task or closing it. We're bringing that experience there, but you're controlling it on a Windows remote desktop. And then obviously native text selection, another really, really fun activity. With any remoting protocol, right? In this case, once again, bringing that UI native to the tablet in a way that everybody's familiar with. If you use iOS, you use Android, you have your selection brackets, you drag them. We're doing that again here, but overlaying it on that Windows desktop. We zoom it up, so you have a nice big target. And the cool thing is the clipboard is truly shared. So just did that text selection. I'm using menu bar transformation now to go to my edit and paste. So I used task management to switch tasks on the desktop, menu bar transformation to paste it in. You kind of get an idea of what this feels like, right? Moving away from worrying about, dealing with the complexities of Windows and just getting things done in a UI that you're comfortable with. Now we switch back to a native tablet app. We'll go to Evernote and go ahead and use the native clipboard functionality, long press, paste on Android. It's the same text brought over. So some very cool stuff, kind of transforming that user experience.
So wow, Chuck, this is pretty good. I didn't think this was possible until we showed this patent-pending technology here. and the kind of thing that really, once you see it, you absolutely want it. Who would want to go back to using Windows point and click directly on a tablet?
Absolutely, yeah. And I do want to stress that this is all Totally non-intrusive, right? There's nothing happening. There's no transformation on the Windows desktop itself. There's no transformation on the applications. It all happens seamlessly in the background.
Well, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Very cool stuff. So to summarize, what I've shown you here is we've shown you our EUC strategy, which is really we're delivering this Horizon Suite, the industry's first integrated management platform for the multi-device post-PC era. Okay? It's got 3 pillars. We've delved into them, all of them in detail. Windows as a service, apps of all form as a service with enterprise-grade policies in Horizon, and data as a service, my documents in the cloud with integrated rich sharing through Horizon Data / Project Octopus. So what's in it for the end user? Your stuff on all your devices. You access your files, your apps from any device, okay? And be able to browse a catalog for what IT's entitled you to, of what's available through this common portal, one way of getting at all of your content. And for IT administrators, being able to set common policies across devices, being able to manage the environment, okay, and being able to track who's using what for better license compliance and isolation. So on that notion, we have like 5 minutes for questions. We almost used up the time. If someone would like to ask questions, please come up to one of the mics. And otherwise, I thank you. I hope this was useful and helpful.
Can you cover a little bit of the integration with Zen App, or can you talk about that any?
Oh, can I comment on Zen App? Yeah. So Zen App is
Zen App. Are you going to be? I think y'all showed in the keynote Zen App.
Oh, Zen App is what you're saying. I'm having a hard time hearing you on the mic. Yes. So Horizon Suite, quite frankly, Horizon Suite is a multi-device workspace for all forms of applications. We aim for this to be an open and heterogeneous system. We know that some of our customers use Zen App for app publishing and delivering apps, so we're enabling that. We're going to let you broker Zen App so that Zen App applications can also be brokered through this Horizon complex. We're not replacing it. We're not offering a competing solution to that right now. But I mean, so customers who have Zen App deployments, you'll use the Citrix protocol, the Citrix receiver, to talk HDX ICA for your apps published from Microsoft Terminal Server through Horizon. Okay?
Would you describe Verizon Mobile as a MDM type of MDM type of replacement?
Well, I think the question was, is Horizon Mobile an MDM type replacement? Was that the question?
Yes.
So MDM is a technique for managing devices, but we think MDM is kind of a bit backward looking, to tell you the truth, because it's applying management of a physical device in a bring your own device world, where what we think customers want is the ability to manage just the business applications and the business content on that endpoint device, not take on having to monolithically all or nothing manage a phone. I mean, if you bring your own phone in and it's a bring your own device kind of phone, having IT being able to remote wipe or look at anything you could do on that phone doesn't really make it usable as your personal use device. So we very much see this ability to create containers on Android and iOS and apply security policies to just those business applications as the way to go. Okay?
Thank you.
Is the single sign-on part of the Horizon App Manager meant to compete with companies like Imprivata, or is it going to complement it, or how's that going to work?
I can't understand what you're saying. This mic is terrible.
Okay. We're an Imprivata customer, and the Horizon App Manager had the single sign-on functionality. Is that meant to compete with the single sign-on from Imprivata?
Okay, the question was on competition relative to Imprivata. So the answer is no. Imprivata is a great partner of ours. We do a lot of business with them. Imprivata does a lot of things that are complementary and different from Horizon. So Imprivata is single sign-on for Windows, delving deep into the application layers in particular. So with Imprivata, you can do things like in a view in a healthcare environment, you can log in, do location awareness, get the patient record up in an application. That's not what Horizon App Manager is designed to do. Horizon App Manager is taking SAML tokens for all your cloud services, securing that in one protected key store based on your Active Directory. So those are really, they're complementary, different kinds of technologies, not meant to be competing with Imprivata.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the targeted release date?
So what we've announced here is a preview, an alpha preview of the Horizon Suite. And what was announced in the keynote yesterday by Steve was that we expect Horizon Suite to be in beta by the end of this year. Okay. And that's all we're saying about availability.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we are out of time. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the session.